Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Good Mom. And I'm Lindsay, and I'm here with my friend Sunny. And we are both good moms, just like you.
Yep.
And today we're going to talk about the topic of travel
Yes.
and traveling with kids and making decisions around traveling with kids and what to do when kids give you the rolly eyes. So, Sunny, why don't you tell us a little story about what's happening for you? And then we'll use this as our example.
That's right. Okay, so this is something that I am going through right now. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, we live on the other side of the country from our parents. So both my husband and I, we grew up in the same hometown. Our parents still live back there. So that's way back, other side of the country. So we try to get back there, at least once a year. And summer is the best time to do this. And for years, ever since like my kids were like super little, we would take all the kids back there. Now, my husband couldn't go back for the whole summer, but I usually have a job where I can work from anywhere. And so I would take the kids, all 4 kids, and head back. Well, over the years, especially within the last almost 2 years now, things have changed. So I have a 14-year-old who is a freshman in high school. Last year, he was on the freshman football team. This was a very big deal for him. First time he played tackle football. And so they had summer camp, which is a little misleading, or maybe not, because it's like your whole darn summer.
It is the whole summer. Like, that's not camp.
No, that's like summer
That's like
school.
summer
That's like
school.
summer football.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. That's
Whatever.
not camp.
Yeah, that's not camp. Yeah.
But it was important for him to go to it. And
Sure.
they hardly had any time off. And it started like right after school got out. And then they had like a 2-week break in July. Anyway. And then this year, my middle son is now, he's not in high school. He's still in middle school. But he is going to be playing tackle football for the city. And he has to do stuff in the summer as well. And I'm like, what the heck, you guys?
Yeah.
Our whole family is back there in one area. We're very fortunate that we can go to pretty much one place and get both sides of the family, right?
Yep.
Been doing this for years. And so last year, my husband and my oldest came a little later. All right. And then my girls, myself, and my middle son, we went out earlier. We stayed, and then my husband and my older son came out a little bit later, and they only stayed for like 10 days or something like that.
Right.
And then all the boys went back to California where I live. This year, I'm getting even more resistance because, like I said, my middle son is going to be playing football. So
They have stuff to
now,
do. Yeah.
we literally, this morning, my husband calls me on the phone and he's like, I need to get tickets for you guys to go back to Ohio. That's where my parents and in-laws and everybody live. And I'm like, okay, so we're trying to figure this out. My middle son is like, no, I'm not going back. I got to get ready for football. And I'm thinking, as a mom, okay, so I'm going to have 2 kids literally on the West Coast away from their mother for a month or more.
Yep.
It just feels, Lindsay, it feels so like disjointed. I feel like I'm a little out of control because, my husband's going to be going to work. So then I've got 2 boys that are just here by themselves. Like, I feel like I'm kind of
Like,
deserting
what do I
them or,
do?
what do
Yes.
you do? So anyways, this is my struggle right now.
I
And I'll
love it.
share, I'll share a little
The
bit more later.
struggle is real
It
because,
is real.
you feel like you're leaving some kids out
Yeah.
and doing things with some kids. And then, if you don't do what you've always done, which is everybody goes together, what is the new paradigm? What does it look like?
Yep.
That's the question. And so, there's so many things because what you've got wrapped up in there is the idea that you want to spend time with family.
Yeah.
The idea that your kids aren't going to grow up. The idea that eventually they get to make their own decisions and they do have friends and things. This is real. It's all
It is.
really real time. And I'm sorry it's real time for you right now. It feels painful. I remember it.
It is painful.
So, let's talk about, so you want to go for what, 2 months or a month? A whole month?
We're not exactly sure.
Yeah.
It's never 2 months. It's usually between 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay. So, sometimes there are times in families when the roles change, and maybe, just maybe with teenage boys, and I know how important it is for teenage boys to feel grounded and with their friends, and
Yeah.
they're starting to spread their wings as to who they're going to become, there is a need for them to want to stick closer to what they know so that they can find more of who they are through the lens of their friends,
Right.
right? So they've had family lens now for the first whatever teenage years of their lives.
Yeah.
Now they want friend lens and football friends and coach lens and all these other people. It makes complete sense. They're trying to grow up.
Yeah.
So, question for you and for the
Mm.
audience too, is there a way to split it up a little bit by having the grandparents come and visit you?
Yeah,
Have
and they
them
and
come
they
to you.
do. Yeah,
And
and they
they
do, which
okay.
is good. So at least
Yeah.
my parents. My
Okay.
parents come out,
Great.
it's usually like around the holidays, like
Okay.
Christmas, that kind of time.
Sure.
And they do get to see them. So
Yeah.
that's good. It's
Yeah.
more like the rest of the family, like my in-laws don't really travel out here,
Right.
cousins, all of that kind of stuff. Because
Mhm.
literally it's like everybody is over in this one area of Ohio,
Right.
right? So
Yep.
we do a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And like I said, they will be coming out. So my oldest son and my middle son, they are going to come out, but it's probably going to be for like a week
Yeah.
versus the 4 to 6 weeks that it typically is. You
Totally.
know?
Well,
Yeah.
so maybe that's just different. And I
Yeah.
think that getting used to different is also another aspect of this whole thing. I remember when my kids were that age, there was, the gauntlet was thrown down. We're not going.
Yes.
We're
That's
not
what they
going to do
did.
this. We're not going to do that. And it's
That's what
like,
my son did this
oh,
morning. No,
interesting.
not going.
Okay. Well, the little demons come out, but that's okay. What I look at it as is it's a growing time. It's a time for them to grow.
Yeah.
So the question is can you find the third alternative? What is the new way? You have to do this at certain points anyway. I think you'd have a good ride if you made it with a child to the age of 15 and they didn't do this already. Like,
Yeah, that's
you're
true.
doing okay. This is pretty good. But I think it's important, for kids to feel like they can do more of what they want to do, especially during the teen and early 20 years. That is when the program gets tested, and they're going to test what they've learned for the first 13 years of their lives and really figure out who they're becoming. So, is
Mm.
there a third alternative? As a parent, can we think about, what else could we do? Because I totally know the feelings you're having about, I'm going to leave them behind. No, I can't do it. It
Yeah.
makes it makes sense. The other aspect to it is too. Let's just say that it was grandma's 80th birthday or something,
Right.
and I'm making this up for the listener mostly, but it is true that sometimes there are things in a kid's life that the mom has to say, we have to do this, kids. We're
Mhm.
going to do this. And here's why. It's grandma's 80th birthday.
Right.
This is the last year that's going to happen. We won't be doing it this way next year, but this is what we're doing, right? Or whatever. And I used to say to my kids, this could be one of those things where I'm pulling the mom card, and I don't do it very often, but sometimes I just have to say, this is the right thing for all of us.
Right.
And you're part of all of us at this point in time. And then next time we can look at it and do it differently. But this time it's really important. So if it's crucial for some reason that you see for them to all be together for 4 to 6 weeks,
Yeah.
that is the kicker. You're going to have to decide, is it time for me to exercise the mom card and say,
Mhm.
we're doing it. We got to do it this way. Sorry. I'm sorry it's disappointing to you, but this is what we're doing. And that, hey, every kid's going to need therapy for something. Choose your battles and pick the ones you want. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and the other thing that I was kind of testing out in talking with my son that doesn't want to go back because of football, I was also trying to gauge how important this is to him,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And we just had this thing last night where he kind of blew up. He was really upset over something football related. And I got
Hmm.
to see a side of him that I don't usually see.
Hmm.
And that is he was scared that he was going to he wasn't going to get on the team. Like there's a roster and you got to sign up
Oh,
before a
right.
certain date and all this kind of stuff. And he was scared that he wasn't going to get on the team and all of his plans were going to fall apart. Right.
There you
And I
go.
got to see this true raw emotion that,
Mm.
I mean, as a little kid, I saw it a lot because he would throw a lot of temper tantrums, but as a
For
seventh
sure.
grader,
Yeah.
he's already trying to suppress those kinds of feelings, right? So I got to see that last night, and I got to see how important this
This
team
is.
is to him, right?
Yep.
And I think that also helped me in trying to make a decision on what to do. So what I ultimately did this morning is was texting back and forth with my son, and he's saying, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And I said, well, my concern, because I think they need to know, why are you doing this? Why are you making me do
Absolutely.
this? Right?
Yes. Yes.
I'm big on the why. Tell your
Uh-huh.
kids why something is happening.
Absolutely true.
And so I said to him, my concern is that you're going to spend all your time on your phone, because he's got an iPhone, and, doing stupid stuff. And he's not like a person to really get out of the house unless you make him. He can be very lazy, just to be
Okay.
honest.
Fair.
And if I'm not here to guide that, and my husband is at work, and it's just his older brother there with him, that's my concern. I don't want you just sitting on a couch, going through, flipping through shorts on YouTube. That's
Right.
not what I want for you for summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said to him, I made a deal. I said, this can be your choice, because you're still going to come back with your brother and your dad for at least a week. Okay.
Yeah.
I said, this can be your choice, but I'm not changing, because over the summer, sometimes I change their screen time controls to give them more time because they're not in school. I told him, I said, I'm not changing your screen time control. So you're still only going to get 2 hours, which is his max, on your phone.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to find something else to do with your time.
Cool.
And
That's
for
a great
me,
solution. Yeah.
for me, I was like, okay, do I still want him out there? Of course I do. He's my son.
Yeah.
But I also remember last year when he came out and he didn't want to go out because his older brother didn't have to go, because his older brother had football back in California. And he wasn't happy out there in Ohio. And then he made everybody else miserable. So I don't want that either, right?
No, totally. And you're tapping into a couple of things there. I wanted to sort of dissect this a little.
Okay.
One is the belonging. He's really at a stage in his life that he wants to feel like he belongs. And we forget, because we get older, that our family was the first place we belonged. Always, and if you didn't have a family that you felt like you belonged in, that got harder and harder, and you found other friends, and this is how some people end up in gangs.
Right.
Seriously, they just don't belong. So there you go. He is searching for his sense of belonging. So if you, as a parent, can find a way to help him recognize how he wants to belong. What does that even feel like and look like for him if he's willing to listen to you? That's an amazing gift, because he'll recognize that he's trying to fit in with the football team, and he wants to belong with these kids or this activity or whatever it is. There might be other places he can learn to belong this summer when he doesn't have screen time. So that's something that's a really good thing. The other thing that you brought in, though, was about him. You and him, you want him to be with you, and that feeling of loss and recognition that it would be so fun to have my son here, but not if he's going to be difficult. And boy, have we all been there. There's a great way that you could lead him into some other activities, finding himself this summer. What does he value? If valuing nothing works for him, he's going to get a lot of nothing.
Right.
And I think you can actually guide him even from the other side of the country with just a little bit of, hey, we're going to work on what you value the most. What do you value? Do you only brush your teeth because I tell you to? Or do you brush your teeth because you'd like to have them for the next 100 years? I'm just curious, right? And I do think that you could work on some of those little things subtly from far, far away, giving him the room to expand and to notice. Just to become an observer is a big, huge step for a 13-year-old. So I think it's awesome. Really good.
And I think just appreciating where he's at, because we've all kind of, like you said, like I remember wanting to, feel a sense of belonging, trying to find my tribe, so to speak,
Totally.
being younger and it not really being cool to, hang out with family and all of that, and I'm trying to remember that, and I'm trying to not take things personally, because this isn't him saying, Mom, I don't like you.
Oh, not at all. Yes, exactly.
But sometimes as parents, that's how we feel. We feel
Correct.
rejected.
Right.
What do you mean
But
you're
it's
not going to
not
come back
you.
and be with us?
I know. It's not you. It's not you. And maybe
Yeah.
you could like do Wordle with friends, do do some games that would allow him to be having screen time but also connecting with others.
Yeah.
One time we played, I think it was Heads Up virtually, and that was just hysterical.
Oh, fun.
So
Yeah.
family reunion Heads Up, try it. It's fun.
Yeah. I love that
So
game.
I do
Great.
too. So you can make up stuff, but I think it's that, yes, don't take it personally.
Right.
It is the third alternative. What can you do that can work for everybody? And you've especially got it tricky. You have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Four is that's a pack.
It is
And
a
they're
pack.
all at different stages in their growth and maturity. And so, yeah, it's tricky. Maybe you can enroll the older one into, being the friend who can kind of help the younger one feel like he's part of the tribe.
Yeah.
That can also be supportive. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good one. I love it. And I'm so glad that your kids have you. You're such a good mom.
Oh, thank you, Lindsay. And I
You're
mean,
welcome.
that's what we're all trying to do, right? We're all
Yeah.
trying to figure out this big puzzle called parenting. And everybody, we all do things a little bit differently. And what works for, my kids may not work for your kids, but it's about
Yeah.
the discussion. So we would love for you guys to continue this discussion on our
Yes.
website. You
With
guys can
us.
reach out to us. Our website is goodmom.org, and you can see all of our episodes up there. Reach out to us, and we will see you there.
We'll
So,
see you there. Thanks for coming.
yeah.